All right, let's dive into something that is making some serious waves in the AI world. We're talking about Kimi, a new model from a company called Moonshot AI, and what it could mean for the whole future of open-source artificial intelligence.
For years, there's been this big question just kind of hanging in the air. Can the open, collaborative world of AI ever really catch up to, let alone beat, the giant closed models from the big tech companies? What if it wasn't about playing catch-up anymore? Well, this week, that question stopped being a what if, it just became a reality.
Think of it like a signal flare, shot up by Moonshot AI. They've released this new model, Kimi, and trust me, it's not just another little update. It feels like a genuine turning point for the entire open-source AI community.
So why is this such a huge deal? Well, because it feels like the start of what people are calling the agentic era of OpenAI. We're talking about a shift from AI that just answers your questions to an AI that can actually go out and act for you.
So what exactly is under the hood of this thing? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of what makes Kimi such an absolute powerhouse.
First off, let's just talk about the sheer scale. We're looking at a 1 trillion parameter architecture. To put that into perspective, that is the absolute top tier of model size, a scale that, until now, we pretty much thought was only possible inside those closed-source labs.
Okay, so how does it handle all that power without, melting a server? It uses this really clever system called Mixture of Experts, or MOE. The best way to think about it is like having a huge team of specialists. Instead of throwing all 1 trillion parameters at every single problem, it intelligently picks only the right experts for the job, about 32 billion at a time. This gives it this incredible combination of massive power and surprising efficiency. And then there's this, a massive 256,000 token context window. What that means in plain English is that it can read, remember, and reason over enormous amounts of information. We're talking an entire book or a super complex codebase, and it won't lose track of the details. That is absolutely crucial for any kind of long-term, multi-step task.
So you've got the huge scale, you've got the smart architecture, but what does it all add up to? Well, it all builds to the model's most important feature, what we're calling the agentic leap. This is the real game changer, the fundamental difference between Kimi and a regular chatbot. It's that shift from just answering to actively doing.
And the difference here is night and day. On one hand, you have a traditional chatbot. It answers your questions, it generates some text, but you kind of have to hold its hand. An agent, like Kimi, is a whole different beast. It plans out complex workflows, it goes out and finds the right tools all by itself, it even writes and runs its own code, and it does this without needing a person guiding every single move.
So what does that actually look like? Okay, imagine you give it a really complicated goal. First, the agent analyzes what you're asking for. Then, it plans out a whole sequence of actions to get there. After that, it picks out and uses different tools, maybe a web browser, a code interpreter, whatever it needs. Then it can just go off and execute hundreds of these steps on its own, and at the very end, it just delivers you the final completed result. That is what autonomy looks like.
So let's zoom out for a second. A new model is cool, but why are people saying this changes the entire game? It really comes down to one simple but incredibly powerful idea.
It all boils down to this. Open source no longer means second best. For what feels like the first time, a completely open model isn't just trying to catch up to the big proprietary ones, it's actually beating them in some really important areas. That whole idea that open source is always a step behind, that's being seriously challenged right now.
And hey, this isn't just talk. The proof is in the performance. When you look at the benchmarks for using tools and doing these complex agentic tasks, Kimi is outperforming a lot of its closed-source competitors. It's also fully open weight with an MIT license, which means anyone gets unrestricted access to use it and build on it. This is proof that open models can actually lead the way in complex reasoning, and that signals a massive change for the whole industry.
So where do we go from here? Well, this release really points toward a future that looks a lot different than what we might have expected a few months ago. It's a future that's all about empowering a whole new generation of builders.
What this really means is a major shift towards AI that's more accessible, more controllable. When a top-tier model like this is open, it means developers, researchers, and startups everywhere can get their hands on it, they can tweak it, fine-tune it, and build completely new things with it. That just accelerates innovation for everybody.
And all of this leaves us with one final and honestly pretty profound question. Who gets to steer the future of intelligence? For a long time, it seemed like the answer was going to be just a handful of giant corporations. But with breakthroughs like Kimi, that's really starting to change. It suggests that maybe the future of intelligence won't be steered by a select few,
but buy the Mini. And that right there is a very, very big deal.